The old Blackwood house stood at the end of a long, overgrown driveway. A rusted gate sagged open, like a broken jaw. The house itself was a looming Victorian mansion, with dark, empty windows that stared out like the eyes of a predator. The paint peeled from its walls like dead skin. The air around the house felt heavy, oppressive. It was the kind of place that sent shivers down your spine, even in broad daylight. I could feel the weight of its history, the secrets it held. This was a place where the past refused to die. I'd heard stories about this house, whispers of tragic events and restless spirits. Locals called it Blackwood Manor, a name that dripped with ominous undertones. They said it was cursed, haunted by the ghosts of its former residents. As I stepped onto the overgrown lawn, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I could sense that I was being watched, but by what? I couldn't say. One thing was for certain, though. I was about to find out why this place was considered the most haunted house in town. The town's oldest residents still spoke of the Blackwoods in hushed tones. They were a wealthy family, known for their lavish parties and eccentric behavior, but their happiness was short-lived. Tragedy struck the family, leaving a trail of sorrow and unanswered questions. Some whispered that the patriarch, Edward Blackwood, had gone mad. One night, in a fit of rage, he murdered his entire family before taking his own life. The house remained abandoned for decades, a testament to the horrors that had transpired there. Now, I stood at the edge of the property, ready to confront the mysteries that lay within. The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the whispers of the past. I couldn't escape the feeling that I was walking into the heart of darkness. Local historians painted a picture of the Blackwoods that was both glamorous and tragic. Edward, a shrewd businessman, had amassed a fortune in the shipping industry. His wife, Eleanor, was a renowned beauty, known for her elegance and charm. They had 2 children, Daniel, a bright and curious boy, and Amelia, a quiet and introspective girl. The Blackwoods seemed to have it all: wealth, status, and a loving family. But their world came crashing down in the summer of 1903. Edward's ships, caught in a series of violent storms, were lost at sea. His fortune, once vast, dwindled overnight. The loss devastated Edward. He became withdrawn, prone to fits of anger and paranoia. He accused Eleanor of infidelity, claiming that she was having an affair with his business partner. He became increasingly controlling, isolating his family from the outside world. Eleanor, once full of life, grew pale and withdrawn. The children, sensing their parents' distress, retreated into themselves. The once happy family was now fractured, bound together by fear and suspicion. The stage was set for a tragedy that would forever stain the Blackwood name. The details of that fateful night in July 1903 are shrouded in mystery. Neighbors reported hearing blood-curdling screams coming from the Blackwood mansion. They spoke of seeing flickering shadows in the windows and hearing strange, unsettling music coming from within. The following morning, the local sheriff arrived at Blackwood Manor to investigate. He found the front door ajar, swinging ominously in the breeze. Inside, the house was in disarray. Furniture was overturned, paintings ripped from the walls, and blood stained the once pristine carpets. In the master bedroom, the sheriff made a gruesome discovery. Edward Blackwood lay dead on the floor, a pistol clutched in his lifeless hand. His wife, Eleanor, was slumped against the headboard, her eyes wide with terror. Both had been shot at close range. The children, Daniel and Amelia, were nowhere to be found. Some whispered that they had managed to escape the carnage, fleeing into the night. Others believed that they had met a fate far more sinister, their souls forever bound to the house that had been their prison. Section 5. The Unseen Guest. As I stepped across the threshold of Blackwood Manor, I was greeted by a suffocating silence. The air was thick with dust and the musty odor of decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the only sound was the creaking of the floorboards beneath my feet. I made my way through the foyer, my flashlight beam cutting through the oppressive darkness. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that I was not alone. In the grand ballroom, I paused, listening intently for any sign of life. Dust motes danced in the pale moonlight that filtered through the grimy windows. As I turned to leave, I felt a cold breeze brush past my cheek. I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest, but found nothing there. Section 6. The Attic's Secret. I continued my exploration, drawn upwards by a strange compulsion. The The stairs creaked ominously beneath my weight, each step echoing through the silent house. The air grew colder as I ascended and the smell of decay intensified. The attic door was slightly ajar, as if someone had recently been inside. I pushed it open slowly, my flashlight beam illuminating the dusty interior. The attic was crammed with forgotten relics of the Blackwood family's past, trunks filled with old clothing, stacks of yellowed photographs, and children's toys scattered across the floor. In the far corner, I spotted a small wooden rocking horse. Its paint was chipped and faded, but it was clear that it had once been a cherished possession. As I approached, I noticed something strange about the horse's eyes. They seemed to follow me as I moved, their glassy gaze filled with an unsettling intensity. I reached out to touch the horse, and as my fingers brushed against its mane, I heard a faint whisper coming from the shadows. It was a child's voice, high-pitched and filled with fear. It seemed to be saying, "Help me." Section 7. A Ghastly Discovery. My heart raced as I scanned the darkened attic, searching for the source of the voice. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was in danger. I had stumbled upon something sinister, something that I didn't fully understand. My flashlight beam fell on a large, antique trunk tucked away beneath a dusty window. It was ornately carved and bound with tarnished brass fittings. Curiosity, or perhaps a morbid sense of duty, compelled me to investigate. As I lifted the heavy lid, a wave of cold, stale air wafted out, carrying with it the faint scent of lavender and decay. Inside the trunk, nestled amongst layers of yellowed lace and silk, lay a doll. But this was no ordinary doll. This doll was made of porcelain, its features eerily lifelike. It wore a tattered white gown, and its once bright blue eyes were now closed. But what sent a chill down my spine was the single tear painted on its porcelain cheek. It was as if the doll itself had shed a tear, mourning a tragedy it could never forget. Section 8. The Haunting Melody. As I reached out to touch the doll, a sound pierced the silence. It was a melody, faint at first but growing steadily louder. It was a haunting lullaby played on a music box, its tune both beautiful and melancholic. The melody seemed to be coming from behind a large, freestanding mirror that leaned precariously against the wall. The mirror's silvered surface was tarnished with age, distorting the reflection of the attic around me. As I cautiously approached the mirror, the music box's tune grew louder, its notes vibrating through the air. I could feel a presence behind me, as if someone or something was watching my every move. I steeled my nerves and reached out to touch the mirror's cold glass surface. As my fingers made contact, the music box reached a crescendo, its haunting melody filling the attic. The mirror's surface rippled like water, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a figure standing behind me, its face obscured by shadows. Section 9. Trapped in the house. I spun around, my heart pounding, but found nothing there. The attic was empty, the only sound the fading echo of the music box's eerie tune. Had I imagined it, a trick of the light playing on my nerves? Or was there something truly sinister at play in this house? As I turned back to the mirror, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The reflection staring back at me was no longer my own. Instead, I saw the face of a young boy, his eyes wide with terror. As I turned to flee, I heard the attic door slam shut with a resounding boom. I was trapped, alone in the darkness with whatever malevolent entity had taken up residence within the walls of Blackwood Manor. Section 10. A Desperate Escape. Panic surged through me as I rattled the attic door handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if an unseen hand held it fast, keeping me prisoner in this haunted prison. The laughter grew louder, echoing all around me, mocking my fear. I scanned the attic for another way out, a window, a hidden passage, anything that would allow me to escape the clutches of this nightmare. But the only window was nailed shut, its glass covered in years of grime and decay. Desperation clawed at me, fueling my adrenaline. I grabbed the heavy rocking horse, its glassy eyes seeming to watch my every move, and hurled it at the attic door with all my might. The wood splintered and cracked, but the door held firm. I slammed the rocking horse against the door again and again, each impact sending shockwaves of pain through my arms. Finally, with a deafening crack, the door gave way, splintering inward. I stumbled through the opening, my clothes torn, my body bruised but alive. Section 11. The Unanswered Questions. I didn't stop running until I was safely away from Blackwood Manor, its looming silhouette receding into the darkness behind me. I never looked back, afraid of what I might see if I did. The experience left me shaken, haunted by the memory of the children's laughter, the ghostly melody of the music box, and the terrifying reflection in the antique mirror. I had gone into Blackwood Manor seeking answers, hoping to uncover the truth behind the legends that surrounded it. But I left with more questions than answers. What had happened to Daniel and Amelia Blackwood? What dark secrets lay hidden within the walls of that house? And what was the unseen entity that haunted its halls? Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. Some doors are best left unopened. As I drove away from Blackwood Manor, I couldn't escape the feeling that I had been lucky to escape with my life, and I knew with chilling certainty that I would never forget the horrors I had witnessed within those haunted walls.